Hello, this is Caitlin Kinney, and this recording is for the Advanced Android Development course at the University of Cincinnati. In this tutorial, I will be discussing how to add material design icons to the action bar in a blank activity. So in this activity here, we're trying to add icons that follow Google's standards for material design. Material design is extremely important as it keeps a consistent iconographic system throughout the entire app. It is also extremely easy to implement in the new version of Android Studio as all of these icons are built into the program. So to start off with, we'll have to import the icons that you would like to use up here in your action bar. So to do that, first you actually have to create a menu resource. So if you're like me and you're starting from a blank activity, you won't have this by default. So what you'll need to do is right-click, go to New, go to Android Resource Directory. From here you need to select Menu, and feel free to name that whatever you'd like. I'm just going to keep it as the default menu. And you'll see that I go ahead and populated that over here. You now need to create your menu.xml file. So you go to New, Menu Resource File. Go ahead and name this whatever you'd like. I'm just going to keep it as a simple main. And you'll see it'll go ahead and construct this blank .xml file in your menu resource folder. So this is basically where we're going to house and import our material design icons. So now that you've created this structure, you need to right-click on the res folder, go to New, and Import Vector Asset. So this is where you actually select your material design icons. You need to make sure that material icon is selected up here in order to get access to Google's specific material design icons. From there you can click Choose, and it will open all of the default assets for Google. So as I said before, it's extremely important when you're developing an app to use consistent iconography to help your users understand how to move through your app. You can also look through here, see there are many different types of icons that are available. You know, if you're looking for an action, if you're looking for social, navigation icons, there are lots of these. So feel free to look through and find whatever icon you're looking for. So for example, we're just going to add a search icon up at the top in our action bar. So go ahead and select it and click OK. And you'll see it'll display it here. This is the resource file name that you'll need to know so you can call this item up later. If you feel so compelled, you can also control the opacity of this icon. If you don't want it to maintain its solid color, you can add a little bit of an opacity to it. For this example, so we're going to keep it fully opaque. Go ahead and click OK. And this is going to tell you where it's depositing the file. It's going to store all of your imported material design icons in the drawable file, just so you know where those are located later. So that's all right. Go ahead and click Finish. So you'll see it has now added our search icon to the drawable folder. So this is where it's important that we created that menu resource directory and the menu and the main.xml file. So I'm going to head and add this icon in. So I just copy pasted a lot of code in there. That was for me, so I do not make any typos while doing this tutorial. But I'll go ahead and kind of explain what's going on here. So this is the default information that occurs when you create your .xml file. Right here, this is the important stuff that actually calls and brings that icon and places it into the action bar. So see, I commented the search icon. Basically, this is adding an item. And what it's doing here is this line right here is what's actually calling this drawable file. You can also add a title in here if you wish. This will add some text to it. If you're adding an icon most of the time, you do not want text. But for example, you could add that in there just for safety's sake. Also, this is an extremely important line here, show as action always. There are several other options that you could set here. So you could set this to if room, never. Basically what this line is doing is telling what instance this icon is going to show. By typing in always, it says that this icon always needs to be in the action bar. It's never going to attempt to put it into an overflow menu. Usually in instances, if you have many icons, you do not want to do this because your icons will start overlapping on top of each other. In that instance, you'll want to set this to if room, which means if your screen size becomes too small, it'll deposit everything into an overflow menu that you can then access by tapping on it. For our instance, we're only adding the one icon, so I'll go ahead and keep this as always. I always want that search icon to be up in the corner. So now that you actually got the icon there, you need to make certain that it will be implemented on the primary rendering screen. So for that, we need to go over to our main activity file. Once you're in that main activity file, we will need to add some information here. So I'll go ahead and paste that in there for you. So basically what this is saying is it's once you create the options menu, which is that file down here, you need to inflate it or basically make it so that people can see that that icon is there. I also notice you have an error here. This is simply you need to organize your imports. So that is an Alt-Enter command on the keyboard. You want to import. Go ahead and click Enter, and that'll solve that simple error there. No problem. And now we should be good to go. So as you can see here, we've added this material design icon up in the corner. We'll go ahead and run the application so you can see that it displays on the emulator. So, and as you can see, now that my emulator has popped up here, it has created this application and it's got our little icon up in the corner here. So that's it. In this tutorial, I walked you through how to create a menu resource directory and a main.xml file to call your icon. I also showed you how to import icons from Google's Material Design that are default to Android Studio, and then make certain that that icon appears when you run it in the emulator. So that's it. Thank you very much.